The most recent patch brought quests back into the battlegrounds, and the meta definitely shook up as a result. There were lots of super impactful nerfs, minion reworks, and even the addition of tribe-specific spells. Let's get into rank 1 player, ranking every single tribe, and how to play all of them. Starting off with the worst tribe in the game, despite receiving plenty of buffs, it's sadly still Mechs. Scrapskeeper got reworked, and admittedly it does feel pretty good with the maybe Kangor's Titus combo, but the issue is you need to hit the setup early, and it's pretty hard to hit that many specific 5 drops early on. If you do get the setup online though, you can attach all the magnetics onto utility drone and add cards such as Beatboxer and Drakari and get a full hand of magnetics every single turn. It's not that bad. I also really like the new mech spell Scavenge for Parts. It helps this magnetic comp a ton because it's actually a ton of value for just 4 gold and a snap buy whenever you're playing this magnetic variation of mechs. The new Avenge mech card is also not a bad inclusion just to get started because it can give reborn to your scrap scraper, which is really good, but I don't find it to be a permanent unit by any means. Mechs are bad not because its scaling isn't powerful, don't get me wrong, it is, but because the mid-game setup of mechs is just so weak that oftentimes you're just taking 15 damage multiple times in a row just trying to start your scaling engine. Joining mechs in the F tier are Undead. Undead kinda got demolished with the Morose change, whose effect got nerfed from +2/+6 to +1/+5. And previously the scaling alongside KT was just barely good enough to compete with the other tribes. After that comp got gutted, Undead's only way of playing is attack scaling Undead with Anub'arak, which requires a lot of pieces such as Golden Anub'arak, Mummifier, Titus, KT, and even if you hit every single piece, it's not really first place viable because it still gets outscaled by all the scaling tribes and outsummoned by beasts. Basically, you don't want to play Undead unless you have to play for tempo. Undead's new spell Butchering is okay if you really need to destroy something, but it's just too expensive to help Undead not be in the F tier. One thing I will say about Undead, however, is that the tag version scaling of this tribe is super duper strong with Turbulent Tombs and suddenly makes the tribe very good. Similar to how Titus Tribute was extremely toxic, having an unsnipeable Titus lets you basically always get full value from all your handlesses and Eternal Summoners, and this goes extremely hard. The next tribe in the F tier is actually Menagerie. There are 2 comps viable in Menagerie. The first and stronger one is KT Phalanx, which is usually enabled by Phalanx and committed with KT. The KT comp doesn't scale too bad, and it's still first place viable with units such as Chicken, but definitely took a hit with the removal of Mecha Jiraxis, so the only ways to reborn the Phalanx now are Mummifier and Scarab. The good thing about this build is all you need to do is find 2 6-drops and then you can eat the reborn phalanx every turn to spawn a golden phalanx and more golden phalanxes. Also, this build is extremely flexible with the units you can actually slot in. Titus is pretty good for the build as well. Nala Menagerie is enabled by numerous spell generation cards such as Ignition Specialist, Savjz, or maybe quests such as Stash of the Scribe and Cycle of Energy. This comp tends to be too hard to pull off, however, as it requires too many 6-drops, which lands Menagerie in the F tier. Before we get into the B tier, I just want to make it clear that even though all of these tribes are in the F tier, that doesn't mean you should never commit to them. Remember, every single comp has an enabler point and a commit point, which is more thoroughly described in my direction guide actually. So if you get your hands on a beatboxer with Scrapscraper as the key enabler for the comp, you definitely still have to play Mechs. Don't just not play Mechs because it's not a good tribe. With that out of the way, let's get into the B tier. And the first tribe in B tier is actually Nagas. Nagas aren't too bad scaling wise, but it's limited by the lack of variety in its comps because there is actually just one real comp for this tribe. Deep Blue Zesty isn't really a comp. And that comp is the Lord of Gains comp. This comp is mostly enabled by having Nagas on your board, such as Lovelurker, Reefriffer, or Savjz, and of course committed to when you hit the Lord of Gains. In the end, the last update made a lot of tribes stronger while not affecting Nagas really, so this tribe moved down into the B tier. The next tribe in B tier are actually Quilboars, which had a brief time in the spotlight the past few weeks before getting booted right back into the B tier. Quilboars are enabled by pretty much any gem generator, such as Thorncaller or Bookie, and committed to when you hit Prickly Piper or the Rylak Jazzer combo. Lubber being moved to tier 4 means that you're no longer able to semi-force the Lubber Smudger comp, and so that comp is no longer good unless you have maybe Temporal Tampering or Splitting Scroll. Therefore, the game plan for Quilboars now is when you commit Quilboars, which is usually with Prickly Piper or Sanguine Champion, you stay on 4 until you have Rugug, and then you fill out your board with good gem generators such as Banner Boar and Mangled Bandit. And if you're playing the Rylak variation of the build, you probably just want to stay on 4 forever, because your biggest spikes are all on 4. The Rylak variation of Quilboars is obviously much stronger, and it's really hard to win with normal Quilboars nowadays without the insane scaling of Smudger Lubber, so that's why this tribe is B tier. Moving on to the first tribe in A tier, we have dragons. A common theme that you'll see for the rest of the video actually is that comps that have a higher cap or high ceiling will excel in quest meta. And because quest meta pretty much just incentivizes high rolling a ton, Caligos Dragons is one of those comps that needs a lot of economy and a way to cheat out triples to farm Caligos, and that's exactly what quests help you do. When you do hit the Caligos with your brand and or Gillian Warhorn as enablers, you add in dragons such as Hunter of Gatherers, Warpwing, and or Phalanx, and each battlecry is going to buff your board a 10. This is one of the higher cap comps in the game currently. However, similar to Nagas, dragons are limited by its lack of variability because there's pretty much only one way to play dragons, which is Caligos. Without Brand Cali, it's pretty much impossible to scale dragons. Also, Guzzle the Goop is just a complete meme. The next tribe in the A tier are demons. The first way to play demons, and definitely the weaker way to play demons, is self-damage demons. First of all, you don't really enable this comp early as much anymore because Wrathweaver isn't that great of a pickup with quests. Secondly, this comp just kinda got slightly worse, losing imposing percussionist, while every single other comp got better, so it's not unfair enough to compete with the other tribes. The better version of demons is shot buff demons, which is single-handedly carried by one card. And it's not Felbat, nor is it Urzel. That's right, it's Feldrake. Feldrake was an insane card already, and it basically got buffed last patch, as the golden version now consumes double the stats, so pair this with Bran or Bran's Blessing, which you usually have, and your Feldrake just gets way too big, way too fast. Not only that, every single trigger Battlecry spell you see is a million stats, and Corrupted Cupcakes is also a million stats, making playing into a Feldrake just an unkillable unit. Finally, if there's no Bramble Witch in the game, you can simply taunt it up and shield it up and run some cultists, and this comp is just so unbeatable. It's just too unfair. Beasts are also in the A tier. Now I know some of you will spam the comments with something along the lines with beasts are so stupid and obviously S tier. This is a high MR tier list, and I theorize that beasts are way stronger at lower to mid MMRs because it's just so easy to play and not because of its absolute strength. What I mean by that is it's pretty much impossible to mess up a beast comp. Like you go shopping for 6 units, which is Goldrin, Chicken, Slamma, Titus, Mecha Horse, and Scarab, and you just buy every single copy you see. However, beasts just don't win as many lobbies as they used to because you see how many stats the stats comps actually get, and also against infinite gold boards, beasts do run into some problems. When other comps constantly have like 1,000 boards in the final 2 and also all the counterplay available to them, it's really hard to do anything as the beast player. That being said, the tribe is absolutely ridiculous with Turbulent Tombs, so keep that in mind. Also in the A tier we have Elementals, and similar to Demons, Elementals are also carried by one card, which is Recycling Wraith. Recycling Wraith enables every single Elemental comp because it pretty much allows you to spend a lot less money on rolls, especially if it's golden. There are a couple of variations of Elementals. First we have the Sandstone Drake Master of Realities comp, where you just cycle a ton of cards, typically best with a brand, and then at the end of your turn, your Sandstone Drake adds insane stats to itself and also adds insane stats to a master as well. Wealth Smuggler and Primal Staff are both cards that can add additional stats to the Master of Realities at the end of your turn. In the endgame, you'll probably have a huge Sandstone Drake and a huge Master of Realities, and then you can fill out the rest of your board with great ending units such as Mantid, Bramble, and Mador because you just have so much money and build the ultimate comp. The other variation of elementals is the Rock variation, where you just scale by cycling elementals with Golden Wraith, and another key unit in this build is actually Elise, or the new Cobalt quest works too. Because leveling to 6 is often just too low tempo for the elemental build, and you want to use Elise to roll infinite times with the Wraith to get your hands on a lot of elemental surprises and Rock to triple all your key elementals. Hitting Tethys is also a bonus because it incentivizes cycling, which is what you're doing anyways, even though you're not playing pirates. You can choose to play one or both variations at the same time, but you definitely don't have to, and it makes the playstyle of elementals a lot more flexible. We're not quite done with the A tier, guys. There's a lot of strong tribes that are just not quite on the same power level as the strongest tribe. The final tribe in the A tier are pirates. Pirates are enabled by Tethys or Bran and committed by the other piece. That's literally all you need. Then you add the scaling engines, which are Peggy, Underhand Dealer, Record Smuggler, Gunpowder Courier, and go crazy with a ton of money. The benefit to this APM Pirates comp isn't actually because its scaling is the best, because interestingly enough, being infinite may not actually give you the best scaling this meta. The true power of this APM Pirates comp is having access to basically every single utility option in the game, so you can easily make your Golden Bramblewitch, Golden Mador, Golden Manta Queen, and try to tech against every single opponent you face. The other pirate comp is the Eliza version of pirates, which isn't a first place viable comp, but insanely consistent at getting second through fourth place placements. For this comp, you want to commit when you have the Eliza Rapscallion Recruiter package, and you fill in the rest of your board with units such as Titus, Scalawag, and Ferrix. It's a really good damage control comp if you know you can't play for first, and definitely way stronger than it looks, so give it a try. Now it's time to reveal the undisputed best tribe in the game. Blizzard is for some reason allergic to making this tribe weak, so here we are. The only S tier tribe in the game is once again Murlocs. What a surprise. What changed for Murlocs? One major factor is with quests, it's way easier to get your hands on the Brand Primal Fin combo, which pretty much enables the whole comp. And then when you do hit your comp, you either use Rylak or Murkguy to generate a full hand of Murlocs every single turn, probably get some Bream counters, and end up with huge Coral Murglers. The other reason why Murlocs are so good right now is because cloning Conch, or Conch, I'm just gonna say Conch, is just an insane comp that helps you high roll Murlocs so much more. Not only can you copy a huge normal Bream counter, you can also copy Primalfin Lookout, you can copy Coral Murgler, you can even copy a Coral Murgler after Divine Shielding it and using Fluidity to put it back into your hand. And every time you use Cloning Conch in a Murloc build, it's just insane amounts of stats. And the best part about Murlocs is actually that inherently the build has a ton of utility and thus very hard to counter. Murlocs usually have golden base skill, summoning Bream counters, and also lots of shields because they just have so much gold to roll like divine shield spells and new hero powers and everything they want really. Because of its insane stats and utility, Murlocs find themselves once again as the best tribe in the game. This is the final high MMR tribe tier list for the new quest meta. Be sure to share it with your friends. Thank you guys so much for sticking to the end, and I hope you guys learn about which tribes are actually the best in this meta. If you want to see how to play quest meta specifically, I made a top 5 quest tips guide that you should definitely watch if you haven't already. And remember to subscribe if you want more guide content. These are pretty fun for me to make, and giving me support is much appreciated. Anyway, thank you. Bye.